I grew up in Champlin, Minnesota. I grew up right on the Mississippi River. My parents never pushed me into sports. My dad got me into Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout, and I was active in scouting until I got into middle school, and then I started to get interested in more and more in sports. All the kids my age watched All-Star Wrestling with Vern Gagne. Virtually everyone I knew that was in wrestling got started by watching All-Star Wrestling, because Vern Gagne was a scientific wrestler. He was an NCAA champion at the U and a big hero in Minnesota, so that was part of it. And then when I was in about fourth grade, I went to a match at the high school that pitted Anoka against Robbinsdale, Minnesota, and they were ranked number 1 and number 2 in the state. I remember when I walked out of there, it was like I had seen a whole other world. It was so exciting and thrilling that I think I got kind of hooked on wrestling at that time. I wrestled at Anoka High School for the legendary Ron Malcom. At that time, we were one of the top teams in the state. I think we were ranked second or first for most of the year. And it was very exciting because our home crowds always outdrew basketball. We had a very strong tradition there. And my high school has had 9 Olympic berths in wrestling. It was myself, Brandon Paulson, the Hayes-Winkle twins, and Jake Deichler. I wrestled for a lot of years. I loved training more than competing. It was the best part of every day. I never wanted to miss a day of practice. The athletes and members of my club had a tremendous amount to do with my success. We were a very close-knit group, a lot of camaraderie amongst us, and we all helped each other and coached each other. And a lot of great experiences, between wrestling in the World Championships and international tournaments. I think one of the most memorable experiences was in the 1976 Olympics. It was my 3rd international tournament, and my first opponent was Csaba Hegedűs from Hungary, who was the defending Olympic champion. And there was a big crowd, a lot of Americans there, and they were cheering me on, and I won a very close match, 11-9. And unfortunately, my next match, I wrestled Momir Petkovic. We had a real good, hard match. He won a decision, and we became close friends. And now he's Steve Fraser's assistant at the Olympic Training Center. And looking back on how far behind the United States was in Greco, and I had started at a relatively late age. I think I had my first Greco match when I was probably 19 or 20. I thought it'd be great if I could start coaching or expose some high school age kids to Greco. And I'd become somewhat familiar with Minnesota USA Wrestling because my college coach was active in it, Wally Johnson. And so I went to the USA Wrestling Board, and I suggested that I would volunteer to have a practice once a week from the end of the high school season until the junior nationals. And so we kind of started this regional training site concept. And then we decided it'd probably be a good idea to have a training camp before I went to Fargo, so I started doing that. And then finally I told USA Wrestling or Minnesota USA Wrestling, that if they would hire me to be their state coach, I would raise the funds for my salary. So I've been doing it for over 25 years now.
I consider Dan Chandler as like one of the godfathers of Greco-Roman wrestling, and the same level as Dan Gable in freestyle and college wrestling. Definitely. Dan's charge and Dan's efforts set the pace for our Greco-Roman program in the United States.
My philosophy as a coach, and I've always believed this because of how much I love to wrestle, I like a certain amount of structure, but I like the guys have to be able to motivate themselves. If they don't want to do it, I can't make them do it. If they don't love doing it, I can't make them love it. And that's probably one of the most important aspects of the sport. I also believe that the individual has to have a certain amount of creative license to develop their own style. I can show guys a lot of different techniques and moves to score with, but in the end, they have to be able to create something to make those moves develop.
I think he's been at least 2-time Olympic coach. He's coached numerous stars in Greco-Roman wrestling. The Minnesota Storm Club has always been one of the premier clubs winning a lot of titles in the United States and internationally.
We'd only won one medal in the 3 years leading up to the Sydney Olympics, and when I was named the head coach, of course, everybody would ask me, well, how many gold medals are you going to win, Coach? And I was just hoping we'd win one, any color, and then everything came together. We had a great training camp, great group of athletes, worked extremely hard, and we had an incredible Olympics. And two of the highlights, I was in Garrett Lowney's corner for every match, and he beat a 5-time world champion from Russia to win the bronze medal. He was totally focused, like the great athlete that he is, and he hit that move. And it's still, out of all the highlight reels you'll ever look at, I don't think you'll ever see a more perfect start to finish. It was incredible. I still get goosebumps whenever I see it. And then, of course, Rulon Gardner beating Alexander Karelin. And probably the best thing about it was that my family was there to see the whole event go down. So it was just beyond my wildest dreams. What a great experience it was. My wife is a truly remarkable person. She really helped me redirect my focus and my energies after I was done competing. Did a great job raising our sons. They're both great kids, very successful. Tremendous person, great support. I owe everything to her. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame it's a remarkable highlight for my career, but I'm so happy with where I'm at in life and the things I've been able to do. It's like having a piece of apple pie a la mode and then have someone come along and put extra whipped cream and cherries on top, because it's a lot of icing on the cake.